Okay, so this is my Rowenta X-Cel steam. It's the DR8050. So I hadn't used this in some time, and I put it away without any water. In fact, I actually did a descaling on the last time. Not that it needed it, just did. But when I went to use it today, it wouldn't put out steam. It got hot, it turned on, and got hot, but when you would activate the switch for the steam, nothing came out. To show you what I did, I'm going to have to do this in kind of reverse, because obviously I took everything apart. Now, you are working with electric, so make sure you unplug it. Be safe. If you're not comfortable working or even taking anything like this apart, then I would suggest not doing it. But just was going to show you what I found out. Now, my initial check was when I put the water in here, is I took a small paper clip, opened it up, and just stuck it inside each one of these to make sure that they were open. And, you know, tipped it so that it could run out a little bit, and they were in fact open. So I knew that water was at least leaving the reservoir. So to the point that I got is all this is apart, as you can see, the base. And the two electrical connectors are right here that come off the top. And I disconnected the pump, which is what you have here, because all the checks that I did working backwards from the reservoir, okay, so from the reservoir I knew this worked. So then I have to go to each additional point that water has to go to, and that was those pins that you see there. The water has to go into those pins. Well, the only way I could do that was pull off the base, and I'll show you how I put that back on, because I can't obviously do that now. It's already off. But once the base is off, okay, once that base was off, then I undid this, pulled this off, and, well, no, initially I didn't pull this off. I left this on and pulled each one of these side tubes off. These side tubes go into here and here, which are where this port goes into. So that port empties into this. And if this was on here correctly, it would, these two tubes, so that water would come through this tube on both sides, feed into here, into this coupling, come out another tube, which is this tube here, and then that tube goes into the pump, and this pump sits in here like this, and so this tube takes the water from the pump into this hose that you see down here. That hose that you see right there, okay? And then that should take it out into the head. So again, when I was analyzing this, when I found out that this was okay, the both sides, when I stuck a paper clip in here, you could see it. There was no debris or anything stuck in there. Then I knew that I had to go further into the unit. Now, the one thing that I could hear all the time, if I put the unit up to my ear, even before I took this apart, I could hear the pump. Obviously, when you take the bottom cover off, you could hear it even better. I could hear that pump working. So, again, the pump was working, but I didn't know where the blockage was, if there was a blockage. Okay, guys, now I've plugged this unit in. Remember, you're working with electric. I don't suggest you do this. You know, again, I'm showing you what I did. If you're not comfortable doing this, don't do it. But I've plugged the unit in, I've turned it on, it's warmed up, and I plugged in the two connectors, And always observe. Obviously, it makes sense to observe. There's only two here, so I didn't have to take a picture or make a diagram. If I'm ever taking something apart like a switch, today with digital cameras, it's so easy to take a picture so that when you go to put it back together, you have a reference. Or you could make a diagram here. It was just so simple, didn't need to do that. But, so, now I'm going to turn this on and leave it on the on position. And you hear the pump running. Now I can feel it sucking up against my finger, my thumb, but that's because I did something. Now, when I took this apart, it was very quiet. You could hardly hear it. Now this is a little bit louder. So I figured if it doesn't work and I screw something up, it's no big deal, right? But what I did is I loosened this up, and I used a crescent wrench, but it turned very easy. And I noticed that, and I actually took it apart and looked at the pump, the piston in here and everything, put it back together. One thing I noticed, you'll see here that I have it marked. I used a silver marker on this ridge here, which is on one of the flats, where they come together, the two flats. I made a mark, and then I put a mark up on the base of that motor, that pump. And that's about where I'm going to put it. But I'm going to turn this thing in. I'm going to show you what it does. My assumption is, as you tighten this, it makes this pump, well, you'll see here. Now I'm going to tighten it. See there? Now it's hardly doing anything. Now I wished I would have marked this when I first took it apart. I didn't. But again, this is louder than what it was. I did take a little bit of water in a small cup, stuck this in the water, and by God, it comes out. And I found that if I adjust this, it gets to the point where it don't even work. So I don't know what happened. And I haven't tried this yet. It hasn't been back together. So we're doing this all. We're all learning this. So this is where I'm going to keep it. When I hook this up to my unit here, it should go through the pump, in, and then back out with steam. So what I'm going to do is start to put this back together. Now this part I'm not going to be able to do on camera. It's just so damn small. But there's this little, like, retainer, you'll see, little plastic. And what happens is you take that tube that you see right here, that plastic tube, or not plastic, it's like a, silicone tube, whatever, very pliable. You take that, and we're going to stick it into this nipple right here. And it's going to be hard to do. So you put this over the tube, and then you got to you put this over the tube, make sure it doesn't slide down, and then take that tube, put it on this nipple, and then slide this over it to hold it there and keep it from coming apart. So again, I'm going to do that off camera. Alright, I've got the pump in, and then there was this plastic piece. I'll take it out again here. I put it in. This plastic piece, these tabs go to the top, like you see there, where my finger is, and that simply goes on. You'll see that these go onto these lugs that are here where the base screws in, and that just simply goes on just like that. Okay, so you want that like that. The next thing I've got to do is in these holes right here, or these openings here, that's where you got to put these little things in. They go with the little tab down, so that goes down into the opening like that. And what that does is that's that little clip that when you put your reservoir in, that's what it pushes up against. So that'll go in with that, with the round part down. Then it's got two springs because that's spring loaded. So when you push that reservoir in there, that spring load is what keeps tension on that to help hold at the base, to help hold the reservoir from coming out. So now you've got that. Next, I'm going to set this top piece in place, and on both sides you've got this little thing right here where my finger is. They slide over that part there. So we slide that on there like that. And then another thing I know is when I took this apart, before I took it apart, these wire nuts were up underneath here like that to keep them nice. And you know, one other thing we got to check here, just remembered, is we want to make sure that these wires aren't being pinched underneath here. There's a tab there. And so let me make sure. This is going to be hard to do on camera, but you'll see it. You'll see what I'm talking about. And then we're going to put it down like that. Now let me check again. Let me get this up out of the way here. There we go. A lot of common sense. There. Alright. Then we're going to put these down in here. Like that. And this was down like that. Now to put this plate on, it requires 2 screws, okay, that we just put down. This that has all the wiring and stuff on top of it, covers up the pump. There's only 2 screws out of this whole thing that you take apart that are going to be Phillips, and you're going to need a number 1 Phillips screwdriver. So there'll just be 2 of these. The other ones are Torx, tamper-proof. So just take those. Get them started. I always like to start one. I don't like to tighten them down till I know the other side's down here. And this isn't hard to do, but when you're behind a camera and you're trying to show stuff, it always takes longer, doesn't it? And I'll show you the screw set that I have, which is ideal for this little kind of work, to take this stuff apart. Okay, so that's now attached. Okay guys, this is what I was talking about. You'll see this black tab back here, right there, and you'll see the white part with that piece that we put on. That's where I wanted to make sure that none of the wires, that blue and that white, are between this black tab that's part of the base and that white piece that we just screwed on. So that's what I was talking about, is making sure that there's no pinched wires. And that's why I couldn't show you on camera. It's really hard to do. The next part here doesn't really matter how you do it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these 2 side pieces in first. And remember, those go to the pickup tube where your reservoir goes in here. And that's where it picks up the water. Goes into here, which is this tube. These 2 tubes feed to a T. The T goes here down into the pump through the head, then out to the steam head here. And I'm going to do this off camera too. You do get these, and you don't need any tools for this. You do get these little spring clips. Just put them on ahead of the tube, and I'll try to do this on camera. It's a little bit, it might be okay here. Let's see. It's like a silicone. They're really tricky to get on, but they will go on. may put a little water on that or something to make that go on easier. Well, I'm going to finish that up off camera. I may put a little bit of water or something on there, but it'll go on. You see what you have to do there. Alright, so wasn't that bad once I was able to get it up. Like I said, I'm working away from my camera here, looking behind the viewfinder, the screen, trying to do the work here. So it wasn't too bad. Put them on. Just make sure you put your clips on first, slide them back, put the tube on, then just squeeze the clip and push it on. There's the both sides. This is the one then that goes to the pump here. So everything's on the bottom side here. The next thing we're going to do is, let me get the strain relief for the cord. It'll go in here like this, and that's actually kind of nice. It's got that ball on it, so it allows it to gimbal a little bit, okay, because it's, you see where it goes in, and they have a strain relief built in right here where that screw is on both sides, so the cord can't come out any further because it's being restrained here, and this just allows it to gimbal a little bit, so that's nice. So the next thing we're going to do is put on the base. All right, next we want to put the base on, and so that's that. Make sure you have your strain relief sitting in the pocket in the back, and this will just go on like that. Really simple. And while I'm at it, I'm going to show you, remember I had that those two little plastic things that went in that I said the water reservoir. If I push down on this, you'll see it's spring loaded. That's where that spring came into play. On both sides there. That's what helps keep the reservoir in when it goes into the base here. That and up at the top. Now all the rest of the screws that in the rest of this job are going to be the tamper-proof Torx. You see it's got that little nub in there. So you need a Torx that has the hole in it, so that when, because if it doesn't have that hole, then it won't fit into the screw head properly. So that keeps people from doing things, you know, that they don't want you to do. But if you have a tamper-proof Torx bit, it'll work great. So you will need that. Now the one you're going to need, the tamper-proof, is a TR10. Now this is the bottom. Now the ones that you have, these two here are going to be deep. I'll show you what I'm going to do with those. Those are going to be deep. Okay? They go deep down in here where that screws in. So the ones that you can do with just a normal length, something like this, is going to be this, 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 and this. So I'll just start one of them here on camera. I'm going to do the rest off camera until I get to these up here, and I'll show you how I attack that. And so I'm going to go ahead and put these in just like that. And get that started. Get that one started. Okay, to do the two up front here that go in deep right here, I have an extension that I'll put into my driver, just like that. And that will allow me to, I'll just drop it in there like that. Get that one started. Push down on it, make sure that it's tight. On the case, I mean, you want to make sure it's down as far as it'll go. Okay, that's good. And we're going to double check this side here. And that's good. So now the base is all taken care of. Set of screws that, and I didn't have to do this, and you won't have to do this, but I didn't know to the extent that I had to take this apart. So I took out this, and this. So I'm going to just put them back together. Those are screws you do not have to touch, so don't worry about that. The next thing that I took out that you don't have to do is this particular piece here. And so this will then be the last portion that I have to do, the last screw. Hell, hang on a second. There we go. Alright. Again, working behind a camera, this isn't that hard, guys, but you know the way I'm doing it here to show you. So, again, this is not something you needed to do. I did, so I just want to make sure everything is back together. Alright. So now I have everything back together screw-wise. Everything is put back together. The only other thing we have to do is put in these 4 rubber feet. And I'll show you about those. Now here's these rubber feet, guys. Okay, there's 4 of them. That anytime there's a question, I knew there'd be some hidden screws. And the hidden ones, okay, you could see these 2, but this, and this were all hidden by these, well, they act as rubber feet, but they're the plugs. And what I did is I just took a thin flat blade screwdriver and just kind of stuck it under it. I'll push this in, just pushes in like that. So I just took a flat blade, kind of worked it in here and just pried up, and they came out that easy. Alright, so make sure those are all pushed in. The next step is to see if the damn thing works. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. I've got the water reservoir in, and we'll wait for the blue flashing light to stop. Means it's heated up. Okay, now the light's on. So, let's see if this worked. There it is. There it is, guys. So I'm not sure what happened. Nothing was dirty. Putting out good steam again. So, if that's a problem that you might have, this could take care of it. So here's the toolkit that I used for this job. It's by Tecton. I like their tools. It's a 135-piece set, and it is their number 2841. 2841, the 135-piece set. And the main tools that I used today, this just has just tons of different kinds of tools. Bits, drivers, various size bits, anything you're going to need to do a lot of this specialty stuff like this, and things that aren't quite so specialty, just normal screwdrivers, Phillips, your Torx, flat blade, then you even have here your Allen heads. So it's a nice set to have. And what I used today was this little miniature set that came in here. Used this driver, and then these are the bits here. As I said, I used the number 1. I used the number 1 Phillips that you see here on the right, and then I used the number 10 Torx tamper-proof. So these things are worth their weight in gold. I think I paid for this set maybe $35, something like that. And Tecton does warranty their tools. I did do a review of this set too on my YouTube channel.